Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your December 2021 reading. This is a generalized reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. And if you're interested in a more well-rounded perspective, be sure to check out your sun, moon, and rising sign to sort of put that all together. All right, let's go ahead and begin. And the first card we have here is Guy Whatcha. This is, I'm going to go to the imagery more than anything instead of the title of the card. And I feel like this is really coming through with the concept of not necessarily hiding as much as watching from a protective distance. So I feel like as you're leaving the month of November and you're entering the month of December, there is an overall sense of trying to keep your distance, but not completely disconnect from situation and circumstances that are around you. And this can be either something that's extremely close-knit, or it can be extended all the way out to the world at large. But this is definitely the biggest sensation or the feeling that I'm getting from this particular card, is that there's a desire to pay attention and still be aware of things unfolding, but also not to be too close, to be able to create some sort of a distance and almost kind of create a protective layer. And if you even notice how the legs and the arms are up here, kind of creating a barrier between whatever might be in front of this particular character and the more vulnerable aspects of this character, including the heart center. It has created sort of a buffer zone with the limbs as a result of it. So, but still kind of looking, still kind of paying attention to the events that is unfolding in front of the character here. So I feel like this is really summarizing that desire and need. And if you haven't felt it yet, that might be something that you're coming up into feeling as you move into the month of December. And I feel like it's all valid, that overall sense of you don't want to completely disconnect, but you do want to create some sort of separation and a sense of protection. That is a valid sensation, and do what it is that you need to do. Protect and take care of yourself as you move through whatever is unfolding in front of you, however that does apply to you on a personal level. We are moving in, and we have King of Chalice. There's an overall sense of joy that I'm getting from this. There's a heartiness that I'm getting from this. I feel like this is something that you're longing for, not so much something that you are presently experiencing. And of course, what I just experienced with this particular card, obviously it's not something that you're feeling right now, but I feel like you are kind of longing for this sense of abundance and heartiness, and it's a sense of emotional peace and happiness. It's something that you're longing for, pining for, would like to manifest, but I feel like you haven't quite figured out how to get to the point that you have envisioned or that you are longing for. And I feel like this card is coming up twofold. One, it's to validate that sense that you have, and to sort of let you know that your spirits and those who watch over you is very well aware that this is your preference of surrounding, the environment you would like to find yourself in and you would like to be in right now. But I feel like it's also letting you know that you can have it again. I feel like there is a message of your need to work towards it. The other thing that, other than the color palette in this particular card, which is very full of yellows and oranges and just an overall sense of warmth that I'm getting from the color palette, the other thing that really stands out in this particular imagery is the bee that we have right here. And just that really pushes across that message of hard work, and really sort of always being arduous and staying focused at the task of hand, the worker bee concept, essentially. And I feel like this is a message to let you know that if this is still what you desire, that vision that you had, you can still work towards it. And to let you know also that it's definitely something that is not going to happen overnight. It is something that's going to be labor intensive. It is going to require you to stay tenacious and keep on task to see it come into fruition, for you to draw it into your honeycomb, so to speak. So I feel like that's what the King of Chalice is coming through as. I do feel that there is, for some of you, there is a person connection. There is a specific person that makes you feel that sort of warmth, a mentor, or just that. And it is coming across male oriented, traditional male oriented. So that personality that just makes you feel solid and makes you feel like you can relax and sort of be who you want to be. And if you have this particular person in your life, I would seek out time with that person to sort of allow that part of yourself to relax and come to the surface. And I'm just kind of being reminded about how I talked about with this particular card and this particular imagery. One of the things that is being protected is the heart chakra, and there might be rigidity that's happening, a stiffness that is happening. You know, sometimes when we get into a position for too long, we'll get kind of stiff. So kind of taking it from this image, this person, this character, if it is in this position long term, and although the approach and desire for sitting in this particular position, being crouched in this position, is for preservation and for protection, if they're too long in this position, they can get kind of like the muscles can get stiff. And so getting up from this position and moving again might not come easily. And so I think that is another message that is coming through with this card, as far as those who that applies as a particular person, that message resonates with, as far as that sort of happy, bubbly personality that sorts of allows your emotional security, that self of your, that, you know, that part of yourself that allows you to feel like you can relax from a heart center point of view. This is the person you need to be connecting with, and be in their presence a little bit, and sort of allow yourself to relax, so that any sort of rigidity or stiffness that you might have gained from protecting the heart chakra, you'll be able to relax, and that warmth will be able to flow into your limbs, and you'll be able to get up and move a little bit better. So that's another way that this card is coming through to me for messages for you. I find it interesting. The next one is Nine of Chalices. So first of all, this is the second chalice card, and I also mentioned the heart chakra with this card, which makes me feel that there's a lot of heart chakra and emotion energy for you for the month of December. But I also find it interesting that we still have that golden color palette, which is not traditional whenever we are looking at any sort of variation of the Rider-Waite-Smith. Typically, the chalices or cups has to do with emotions and or water. And so usually the color palette has a tendency to be on the blue side, or something that is reminiscent of liquids or water. And both of these cards is really drawing in with the color palette of orange and warmth. And so I feel like that is a message in and of itself. There is definitely a call for you to find ways to connect with that warmth, especially if you were really starting to get kind of heavy or overwhelmed with the emotional aspects of whatever it is that you're facing. If it's getting to be overwhelmed, getting it so that you're getting stiff, and in your need to preserve your heart chakra and kind of protect yourself. The Nine Chalices in particular has to do with desires and wishes. And again, I've already sort of tapped into this, so this is just a continuation of what I've already said. So this is definitely a very specific theme I feel you're going to be pushing up against or coming across throughout the month of December. It has to do with emotions. It has to do with your heart chakra, protecting and self-preserving your heart chakra, doing what it takes, and how sometimes that might actually end up with you feeling a bit stiff, feeling a bit cold in the limbs, so to speak. And how this relates to how you feel in your heart center, and how it also relates with your desires and what you're hoping and desiring to manifest as far as your desires are concerned. And that's being brought back in as far as the Nine of Chalices. And I think that this is just something you're going to be facing as a general theme in various aspects. And for some of you, and this can be, it's one of those things where just depends on each person if it comes up as one facet or multiple facets, but it can come up as a very specific emotional scenario that you are facing that is kind of putting you in a place where you have to reevaluate these connections from an emotional standpoint. But then there are other things that I feel can be for other people, where it is connections with self-worth or self-security, where you are in your life in general, and how that plays a part in your emotional well-being, and how it plays a part in how you see yourself, and what you feel like you may or may not need to do to protect yourself as you move through whatever it is that's going on around you that's impacting your life, and then also as a part impacting you emotionally. So I just heard the word death in the family. So it's not something that you experience on a personal level, but it trickles into your well-being. It trickles into how you are coping as you move throughout the month of December. So overall, there are themes, there are events that are going to occur throughout the month of December, and it doesn't always have to be specifically with relationships. But ultimately, these themes, whatever facet of your life that they are happening or occurring in, they're going to have an impact on your heart center, and they're going to have an impact on you emotionally. And it's also going to kind of throw you into not just only self-preservation, but have you really pondering things that you envisioned, some of what you may have envisioned when you were younger, and that you are looking at as to whether or not did you fulfill those desires that you had when you were younger. Does it matter if you fulfilled those desires or not? And these can even be journal prompts for you if this is something that you're facing. But like I said, the things that you envisioned as a child, did you fulfill those desires? If you didn't fulfill those desires, why did you not fulfill those desires? Is it a good or bad thing that you didn't? The things that you did end up doing, even if you hadn't had set those goals for those things to come to pass, do they actually make your life better than what you had previously envisioned? And then the things that you do envision, even as into adult life or currently, what is it that makes you desire them? What is it that you feel that you are being fulfilled emotionally if you could put yourself in those positions? And then what sort of goals or stepping stones could you kind of put in place so that you can start the process to work towards that, whatever it is? But definitely facing some emotional perspective, heart chakra occurrences, and what that means to you now and into the future, both near and distance. We're following all this with the 9 of Athames, which is traditional 9 of Swords. And I feel like overall, this is so interesting in that we're going back to the color palette. We have the color palette of the blues and the dark shades of the blues, that sort of cool temperature, that sort of, cold. I mean, that cooling sensation or feeling like you're cold, and the counterbalance of these warming colors that are in the chalices. I feel like as you move through all of this, there is a chance that if you're not careful, you can kind of give way to the sort of anxiety or anxiousness, panic attacks, potential feeling the blues. And for some of you, if that, yourself, if that includes potentially getting borderline or suffering from or having a battle or struggle with depression. So and that comes into play. That also comes into play as to why you feel that need to protect yourself. Both of these imagery, this one's not pulling herself nearly as close and rigid as this particular image, but there is a similarity between these two imagery as far as kind of drawing yourself in. I think the biggest difference between these two is that this image is watching things unfold in front that they're protecting themselves with, and this one has gone completely inside, not outside as far as being in an outside environment, but also her eyes are closed. So she has really pulled herself in all of the way. Interestingly enough, the one who has pulled herself in all the way kind of actually managed to create the actual distance and distraction or separation from the outside. Her form is a bit more relaxed, but ultimately I feel like this is coming through as one, don't get too much involved in the need to hover and get yourself in that protective position. Also, if you feel the need to disconnect, make sure that you disconnect, that you can actually create a more calming environment for yourself if you do connect completely, because that stimulation might be actually what's making you feel that inner fear and kind of tripping up that sense of anxiety and what have you. But also, whenever you allow yourself, I find it interesting too that with this person, even though she's in this room, it has the same sort of color palette. There's a ray of light that coming in, and I feel like this ray of light is just symbolic of the light that you're getting from these cards and the messages from these cards, and the message that I've already covered a little bit regarding connecting with the people that allow you to relax in such a way that you don't have to keep that rigid form, that kind of allow yourself to relax emotionally and make you feel like you can feel safe in who you are emotionally when you are with them. I think it's also interesting that you need to connect with inner self and the inner desires, and then the connection that you need to help you guide through that, whoever or whatever it may be, to, like I said, those questions that I asked that could potentially be journaling prompts that I was mentioning earlier. That might be a way for you to connect with your inner light, that can kind of help you bring these cards into fruition. But definitely validation of the need to protect and preserve yourself, but also a message of making sure that you are doing it in a way that's healthy and promoting inner growth and moving into light, and not moving away from and end up being, absolutely rigid and stiff because you've been in that stance for too long. Or ending this reading with go with the flow. And I think that this is kind of capitulating on this card. And what I didn't mention, but I'll mention now, is that whenever we are going through these processes, don't get too caught up in our own heads, essentially. Sometimes we go over these events, these occurrences, and continuously. We don't give ourselves a break. We don't give our mental being a moment to breathe. So don't spend too much time in this rigid position. I think that goes back to connecting with that which makes you feel like you can emotionally relax and trust who you are, being with somebody, whether it is a specific somebody or in your spiritual practice, however that applies to you. Connecting with that, which allows you to relax on an emotional basis, makes you not feel like you have to remain guarded, but also really just not giving way too much to that constant flow of emotion and constant flow of analyzing the situation, and rather just kind of go with it, especially if you manage to find a flow that gets you into warmer color palettes, opening up emotionally, allowing yourself to flow with the flow of emotions in a healthy way. I think that's a big thing too, making sure that when you are flowing with these rivers of emotions, you're making sure you're doing it in such a way that it's healthy and helping you to move through it to the other side of it, wherever that's supposed to lead you, instead of allowing yourself to get rigid or drown in them. But definitely a theme of kind of a clash of yourself and facing issues that can cause overwhelm emotionally, and potentially even feeling a bit stiff in a lot of ways emotionally and mentally, and seeking those environments that help you to generate warmth, help you to feel warmth, and help to generate warmth as you move through the month of December. All right, Cancer, that is all I have for you for this particular reading. Be sure to check out the sun, moon, and rising signs for a more well-rounded perspective. I hope this reading has given you everything you were hoping for and more, and hopefully I will see you in a future video.